My childhood friend won't let me date. Yet he himself is being flirty with the new transfer student. After receiving another love letter, I went to look for him out of habit. He cut me off rudely. Are you here to play the victim and accuse others first? I heard you argued with Natalie today and made her cry in secret. Until you apologize to her, I won't listen to a single word you say. He turned around and walked away, leaving me standing there in a daze. He seems to have gotten it wrong. I actually came to tell him. This love letter was a little special. Since the sender didn't know my preferences, he went with something universally appealing. He stuffed 5,200 yuan bills into the confession letter as the gift. I accepted it. Chapter 1. I was in the classroom working on test papers. Suddenly, someone tapped on my desk. It was a girl I didn't recognize. Natalie wants to see you. Confused, I followed her into the hallway. Natalie leaned against the railing. Her gaze swept over me from head to toe, finally stopping on the pair of shoes I had just bought. Pfft. Several girls gathered around her burst into laughter. Oh, our school belle is a copycat now? When I saw the exact same blue designer shoes on Natalie's feet, my confusion finally cleared up. I pressed my lips together. Sorry. I didn't know you. You didn't know? The girl's voice was sharp. These were a birthday gift Natalie's family specially took her to buy 2 days ago. She's only worn them twice, and you just happened to buy the same pair? Enough. Natalie finally spoke. Maybe she really didn't do it on purpose. She smiled at me gently, looking understanding, but coincidences like this are still uncomfortable. They invite gossip. You should change them when you get back. In just a few exchanges, my guilt was decided for me. I understood what was going on. Calmly, I said, before you called me out here, I had no idea what your shoes looked like, and I saved up my own money to buy these. Why should I change them? Natalie's smile froze. I bought these shoes online a week ago. By your logic, shouldn't you be the ones avoiding suspicion? After saying that, I turned and went back to the classroom. Another 5 minutes of problem-solving time wasted. I scribbled on the draft paper for a long while, but still couldn't finish the final step of the big question. I put down my pen and zoned out for a moment. Sure enough, running into something like this early in the morning puts anyone in a bad mood. But I'm only a teenager. Emotional ups and downs are normal. Out of habit, I reached into the desk compartment for my bread, when a delicate gilded embossed envelope fell out. My childhood friend Edward has been afraid I'd be deceived by boys ever since middle school. He's kept a close eye on me, forbidding me from dating and making me hand in every love letter I receive. But this confession letter was different. The envelope was huge and bulging, stretching the elegant floral edges into something oddly comical. Curious. I opened it. Several banknotes folded into pink hearts fell out. Hello, Luna. I'm Luis from the class next door. I often run into you on the rooftop upstairs. You look so cute biting into bread while working on problems. I really like you. But I heard you hate being disturbed by boys, and I don't know what kind of flowers or gifts you like, so I could only give you something universally appreciated. I'll be waiting for you on the rooftop at 6 this evening. If this bothers you, then please consider this small gesture my apology. May you be happy every day. 1, 2, 3, 4. There were exactly 52 pink hearts tucked inside the letter. I was stunned. Chapter 2. From childhood to now, I've had many people pursue me. Some made a big show of it, sending flowers and milk tea. Others quietly slipped love letters onto my desk, hoping to move me with words. Accepting them was seen as silently agreeing. So every time a new, trendy milk tea suddenly appeared on my desk, along with premium snacks or flowers on my seat, no matter how tempted I was, living on a tight allowance meant I could only admire them for a few seconds before painfully handing everything over to my best friend. As for that pile of useless love letters, they were all given to Edward, who grew up with me, to deal with. This was the first time I'd ever received a gift that wasn't openly presented, practical and completely untraceable. 5,200 yuan. Enough to buy over a dozen pairs of shoes. Enough to cover a whole year of living expenses. I couldn't help suspecting the sender might be too young and had secretly stolen money from home. I cautiously poked my deskmate Ivy. Do you know who Luis from the class next door is? The school bully. Ivy replied casually. Super handsome. I heard his family struck it rich overnight. Whenever he causes trouble, They just throw money at it to make it go away. He's pretty famous. You're probably the only one who doesn't know. My conscience finally felt a little more at ease. During lunch break, I sent Edward a message. He didn't reply. Distracted, I held my small camera and took photos of the scenery. Just as I was struggling with how to talk to Edward, a figure suddenly appeared in the frame. At the corner of the opposite teaching building, Natalie was wiping away tears. Edward, who had rushed over, cupped her face with clear concern and placed a lingering kiss on her forehead. Click. At some point, I had pressed the shutter. That gentle, intimate moment between them froze into a photograph. I suddenly let out a breath of relief. Even someone like him, a model student, was kissing a girl now. Then me dating someone shouldn't be a big deal either, right? Chapter 3. Edward finally replied. I went to the place he'd sent me. I felt excited, but also a little nervous. I disliked Natalie, but I wouldn't tell anyone about their ambiguous relationship. Edward would probably help keep my relationship a secret too, right? Edward, I want to tell you something. Before I could finish, he cut me off sharply. Are you here to play the victim and accuse others first? I heard you argued with Natalie today and made her cry in secret. Until you apologize to her, I won't listen to a single word you say. He turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, stunned. Was it a misunderstanding about the shoes? He knew I'd had my eye on that pair for a long time, that I'd survived on bread for days just to save up for them. I opened the chat window to explain, but the message failed to send. Whenever Edward gets angry, he blocks me, only unblocking me the next day. I'm used to it. My thoughts drifted to something more important, feeling a little shy. I thought, after I finished 2 more practice sets, I'll go meet Luis. Dusk deepened, orange red, purplish crimson, and pale gold clouds blended together, spreading across the sky. I hurried toward the rooftop, with my head down. I crashed straight into someone's chest. The boy was tall and well-built, broad shoulders, narrow waist, with a handsome, sharp-featured face. At the moment, his lashes were lowered, as if he were troubled by something, but after I bumped into him, his eyes suddenly lit up, nervous and shy. He said, "Luna, you came." My heart was racing from running. I stammered, "Why, you're Luis, right? Why did you give me so much money?" The moment I said it, I regretted it. Luis's face turned pale, flustered. He said, "I'm sorry, I was reckless." I thought, I don't hate it. I grabbed his hand, hesitating. "But won't your family be angry if they find out?" "It's not that much. My family's doing pretty well, and my parents don't oppose me dating." As soon as he said that, both our faces turned red. "Can we take it slow?" His long, well-defined fingers carefully curled around my little finger. "Just like this. For now. Is that okay?" How are you even more innocent than I am? The embarrassment in my heart eased a little. I curved my eyes into a smile and held his hand in return. Chapter 4. I went back to the classroom to pack my things. Edward happened to be passing by the doorway. I thought, like always, that he was waiting to walk home with me. I raised my hand to greet him, then saw Natalie beside him. The two of them were chatting happily, not sparing me a single glance, walking farther and farther away. Awkwardly, I withdrew my hand. "Luna." Luis's clear, cool voice sounded behind me. I snapped back to my senses. Right. I still had a new boyfriend to walk me home. We chatted a bit more on the way, so I got back a little late. But Mom knew I often stayed behind to do homework, so she didn't say much. She just asked me to bring something over to Edward's house. Edward opened the door and shot me a cold glance. Saying nothing, I forced a smile and slipped into the kitchen to find his mom. "Auntie, this is lemon chicken feet my mom just made. They're really delicious." She was warm and enthusiastic, and stuffed a bunch of things into my hands for me to take home. But when I reached the entryway to leave, I realized my shoes were gone. Edward leaned against the wall, tone casual. "Afraid you wouldn't be able to part with those shoes. So I hid them, out of sight, out of mind. Just treat it as your apology to Natalie." I froze for 2 seconds. Then tears suddenly fell. All the grievances I'd been forcing down with fake cheerfulness that day finally exploded. "Edward, how can you do this? You know I liked those shoes first. I saved up for so long to buy them. From the kitchen came warm, comforting sounds of cooking. Separated by a wall, Edward and I stood stiffly facing each other. He frowned. You insisted on wearing the same shoes as Natalie and made her upset. What right do you have to cry now? Do you really want to make this so big that my mom finds out? I sniffed, curling my toes awkwardly. I said I won't tell anyone about you and Natalie. Just give me my shoes back. He looked away unnaturally. I threw them in the trash downstairs. They've already been taken away. You can just wear my family's slippers home. My mind went blank for a moment. The shoes were gone for good. Arguing any further would be pointless. I took a deep breath and forced myself to calm down. Fine, 391 yuan in total. Transfer it to me on Alipay. The transfer notification sounded almost immediately. I gathered my emotions and prepared to go home. Luna, it's not that I'm deliberately making things hard for you. Edward sighed. But you're always at odds with Natalie. And that puts me in a difficult position too. If you had someone you liked, you'd also stand on their side without hesitation. I understand. I replied expressionlessly. Thank you for teaching me that lesson. Chapter 5. When I got home, I hurriedly hid the slippers in the cabinet. Mom asked me, Luna, sweetheart, why are your eyes so red? I lied. The wind was really sandy on the way back. Only after she returned to the kitchen did I let out a breath. Mom is usually busy. She probably wouldn't notice that my new shoes were gone. I stayed in my room, staring blankly. Actually, Natalie and I hadn't always been this incompatible. She had transferred into Edward's class just this semester. Every time I went to look for Edward, she would coincidentally need his help. Sometimes it was asking questions. Sometimes it was dragging him off to eat in a hurry. Sometimes it was asking Edward to help zip up the back of her dress. But she loved to smile and looked gentle-natured. Edward indulged her too, and seemed to have feelings for her. So I tactfully kept my distance from Edward, only walking home together before and after school since our routes were the same. One day, someone confessed to me in public, and Natalie happened to see it. She grabbed me and exclaimed loudly, "Oh my God, Luna, why do you have a piece of vegetable stuck on your front tooth?" People were coming and going in the hallway. Countless gazes landed on me at once, curious, teasing, mocking. Only then did Natalie seem to realize. Oh dear, I'm so scatterbrained. I'm pretty straightforward, don't mind me, okay? Girls in puberty are always sensitive and obsessed with maintaining their image. I was no exception, especially right after being confessed to, when a sense of validation had just risen in my heart, covering my burning face. I ran into the restroom and stared at myself in the mirror for a long time, but didn't see even a hint of green. When I passed by their classroom on my way back, I overheard Natalie complaining to her friends. Seriously, men just like this type. Huh? Such terrible taste. The whole pure girl persona feels like the kind who wakes up early to secretly put on no makeup and then tells everyone she's barefaced. I heard she's from a single-parent family. You know how that is. The words were vague. No names mentioned. But that subtle malice was like a thorn stuck in my throat. Uncomfortable. Impossible to swallow or spit out. Edward noticed my bad mood and took the initiative to ask what was bothering me. But after I only mentioned it briefly, his expression turned subtle. The girl you're talking about, that's Natalie, right? I know, we grew up together. I'm close to Natalie, so it's normal for you to feel jealous. His tone was gentle. But you're both girls. You don't need to overthink it. Natalie's just more straightforward with her words. Don't be so hostile toward her, okay? Edward added me back as a friend. He even sent a pair of more expensive shoes to my house. When Mom handed them to me, she teased. Says it's an early birthday present for you. That Edward kid really treats you well. His birthday is earlier than yours. Don't forget to prepare something for him. Mom will cover the expenses. I thought of Edward mentioning last week that he was going to have a birthday party over the weekend. I made up my mind to give him the gift I'd prepared in advance and not attend the party. If I slowly reduced our contact like this, Mom wouldn't worry. Night fell, but loud, lively noises came from Edward's house. Ding dong. Natalie's smiling face appeared behind the door. Chapter 6. With no door to block the noise, the music, chatter, and laughter crashed over me. Natalie smiled brightly. Edward's celebrating his birthday. Luna, why are you here? Everyone in the room turned to look at me. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed the shoebox in my left hand, the one I was returning to Edward. She frowned. Isn't that the pair Edward wanted to give me a few days ago? But I thought they were ugly and didn't take. I froze. Edward hurried over. Surprised. Luna? I thought you weren't coming. He looked at Natalie. She went, oh, slapped her forehead. Sorry. Edward's birthday invitations were my responsibility. I got so busy I forgot about Luna. She hooked her arm around Edward's. Sorry. Edward Gitch. It's no big deal. Edward gently patted her head. Then noticed the gift box in my right hand. He raised an eyebrow slightly. See? Even without an invitation, she still showed up. Guess you brought a gift after all. Must be my early birthday present, right? The room burst into laughter. I lifted my head and met the gaze of the only familiar face not laughing. That reassuring look eased some of the panic and awkwardness in my chest. Edward casually reached out to take the box. At least you have a conscience. Not for you. I dodged his hand and returned the shoes to him. Your gift was trash. Why would I prepare anything for you? Edward's face darkened. If it's not for me, then who is it for? As if thinking of something, he scoffed. Luna, you don't have to force it. You barely know anyone here. Who could you possibly be close enough to give a gift to? I steadied myself and pointed toward Luis at the back of the crowd. There, my boyfriend. Close enough now? Luis's expression turned serious. He strode over. He took my hand. In a gentle voice, he said, did something hold you up on the way? I've been waiting for you for a while. Luna. Chapter 7. Luis and I went to a nearby convenience store. He explained, it's Edward's birthday. I thought you'd be there. So I came. I messaged you before coming, but it seems you didn't get it. At some point my phone had powered off. After borrowing a charging cable from the clerk, I finally saw the string of messages Luis had sent. So that's what happened. Thanks for backing me up, letting me borrow your presents to bluff. I pushed the gift box toward him. Sorry. It's a Wilson Evo, originally for Edward. But since it's useless now, if you don't mind, it's yours. I don't mind, Luis said seriously. If Luna wants to give it to me, then it's my gift. A scumbag like Edward doesn't deserve anything you prepared. I curved my lips into a smile and took the warm milk he handed me. It was getting late. If I didn't head back, Mom would worry. Luis walked me downstairs, then suddenly produced a bouquet from his bag. It wasn't big, just an everyday size. 9 flowers. Romantic enough. What was special was that every flower was folded from banknotes, each one pink and adorable. He looked a little nervous. You didn't seem very happy these past few days. So I folded this for you on the spot. I thought you'd like it. I'll get you real flowers next time. Like it? I practically loved it to death. My eyes lit up as I rushed forward and hugged him. Luis, you understand me way too well. We put the bouquet into a red plastic bag from the convenience store and discreetly brought it home. I set it on my desk and admired it happily for a while. Only then did I answer Edward's non-stop calls. Edward was furious. Luna, didn't you promise me you wouldn't date? How could you not tell me and secretly go out with Luis? I was going to tell you that day. You walked off before I could finish. There was a pause on the other end. Do you even know what kind of person he is? And you just accept him like that? He led people to bully others, beat a boy into a concussion, and forced him to drop out. Do you know that? You've been fooled. I couldn't help snapping back. Aren't you the one who led Natalie to bully me? How is that the same? Edward's breathing grew uneven. I was doing it for your own good. Luis is just. Can you stop being so hostile toward my boyfriend? After Ivy told me about Luis, she was afraid I'd misunderstand and explained more. The boy Luis hit was a known repeat offender who harassed girls at school. Luis caught him in the act. When the guy refused to admit it, that was when Luis threw punches. At a key high school like ours, there's no such thing as a real school bully. People just thought Luis acted like a chivalrous rogue and jokingly slapped that nickname on him. Edward sounded agitated. How can you defend him? Do you think I don't understand how guys think? We grew up together. Would I ever harm you? Didn't you teach me that when it comes to someone you like versus a childhood friend, you stand with the former? I was puzzled. Luis treats me really well. He folds hearts for me and gives me flowers. You're just overthinking it. He sounded incredulous. So a little cheap kindness is all it took to win you over? Yes. I didn't want to argue anymore. I reminded him. I'll keep your thing with Natalie a secret. Please help me keep my relationship a secret too. The call was abruptly cut off. After a long while, Edward sent me a message. Luna, don't regret this. Chapter 8. Edward really does seem to be angry. He no longer waits for me before school and leaves early every morning. In the past, when he acted like this, I would adjust my schedule, get up earlier, shamelessly tag along with him, and bring him breakfast to coax him into calming down. But now, I have a boyfriend. Every time I head out at that hour, Luis just happens to appear at my doorstep on his bicycle. So I accept it instantly, no more waking up early. I happily hand the breakfast to Luis, and we set off together. When we run into each other in the hallway, Edward chats and laughs with others. The moment he sees me, his face goes cold and he stops talking. My desk mate Ivy gossips with me. No wonder you asked me about Luis. So you two are together now. Edward's probably keeping his distance from you, right? Oh, so Edward is deliberately avoiding me. I scratch my head. Well then, he's actually being pretty sensible. Luis and I aren't in the same class. I like staying in my seat after class to work on problems. And he'll come over and casually take my water bottle away. When the class bell rings, the once empty bottle reappears on my desk, filled to the brim. When we run into each other in the corridor, he always notices me first. Then, with a serious face, he secretly stuffs a few packs of high-end chocolates or sweet snacks into my pocket, as if he's feeding some small animal. At lunchtime, I take my vocabulary book and bread to meet him on the rooftop. To save money earlier, I'd stocked up on lots of cheap bread that I still hadn't finished. I take a bite of bread, memorize one word, then I break off a piece from the end of the bread and give it to Luis to eat too. Why does this feel a little familiar? My fingers accidentally brush against something soft. I turn my head and see Luis's face explode red. Turns out I accidentally touched his lips. His lashes flutter. Luna, do you remember? Before, it was also here. You were memorizing words, and suddenly walked over and gave me bread. Luis says that day he had just come back from fighting that scumbag. Filthy all over. Because his parents misunderstood him, he was in a bad mood and came up to the rooftop to watch the sunset. He didn't expect to run into me, memorizing words up there. It was right around mealtime, and his stomach growled twice. I paused mid-bite, then hesitantly walked toward him. I tore off a big piece from the end of my especially fragrant bread and handed it to him. And just like that, he remembered me completely. Before that day, his impression of me was just the pretty, hardworking girl from the class next door. After that day, I became the pretty, hardworking, kind-hearted girl from the class next door, and the angel who later turned into his dream girl. Such a simple love at first sight. But then again, we're just teenagers. We're not out here saving the world. What kind of earth-shattering, legendary love could we possibly have? Instead, I find this slow, steady affection far more capable of making someone happier with each passing day. Chapter 9. After school, once everyone has left, Luis comes to my classroom. He sits next to me and works on problems with me. Well, I work seriously. He usually does a few questions, then sneaks a glance at me. He pulls out a fresh A4 sheet and slacks off by sketching. When I get tired of writing, I lean over to look, pointing at the drawing. I complain. How can you draw my face so round? This isn't a chibi character. Luis thinks for a moment. Then he draws a chibi version of me. A friend messages him, asking him to play basketball. Luis sends a voice message right next to me. Not going. I'm staying with our Luna. I interrupt him, eyes full of hope. Basketball? Can I go watch? I actually really like basketball, but the school courts are always boys' territory. If I go for a walk and keep staring at people playing, sometimes they misunderstand and think I'm interested in them. So I can only satisfy myself with a mini hoop at home. Luis withdraws the voice message and sends a new one. My Luna wants to watch. I'll play one game with you guys today. The other side replies with a long stretch of silence. On the basketball court, Luis frowns and pushes away the friends crowding around. Move back a bit. Don't stink up, Luna. After earning a few eye rolls, he carefully takes the ball out of his basketball bag. After I gave him the gift originally meant for Edward, I felt guilty and later bought him another, even more expensive basketball. 1 flower equals 6 bills, so it didn't even cost 2 flowers worth of money. A friend mocks him sarcastically. We've heard 800 times already that it was bought by your Luna. Thought you were going to worship it. Why are you willing to take it out and let us use it? I sit on a stone bench not far away, leaning in to eavesdrop. Luis has his back to me, but his voice is still perfectly clear. How do you know I already put away the one Luna gave me for collecting? The boy who's always shy and reserved in front of me now sounds rather smug. I specifically bought 10 of the same model for daily use. Luis nearly gets beaten up. I swing my legs as I watch them play, trying every way possible to secretly learn Luis's moves. Luna, why are you here? Edward holds a basketball, standing not far away, staring at me. Chapter 10. You knew I've always played basketball here? I pointed toward Luis. I'm here to watch my boyfriend. Edward's gaze turned complicated. Let's talk. I followed him to the big banyan tree. Edward showed a just as I thought expression. Natalie talked to me. From childhood until now, countless boys have confessed to you, and you never accepted any of them. Yet the moment I started getting close to Natalie, you suddenly accepted Luis's little favors and got together with him. His voice was calm and measured, carrying the gentle confidence of someone who thought he'd seen through everything. Actually, you're just doing this to deliberately make me angry, right? Huh? I went blank. Edward sounded even more certain. I admit I neglected your feelings during this time. I'll apologize to you, but you've also been giving us the cold shoulder and putting on an act for quite a while now. Shouldn't you be done being mad? I have a solution. It'll let you and Natalie make up and get along peacefully again. I won't even mind that you gave the birthday gift meant for me to Luis. How about this? You give me that jar of traditional brown sugar your grandmother made for you before she passed away, as my birthday present. He patted my shoulder. Natalie's health isn't great. She needs that brown sugar more than you do. Once she's feeling better, I'll tell her it was thanks to you. Won't that fix everything between you two? I felt like my ears needed disinfecting. I pointed at his head. Is something wrong here? You literally said it yourself, that my grandma made it for me before she died, and you still want me to casually give it to someone else? Edward frowned. How is Natalie an outsider? Realizing there was no point arguing with someone this unreasonable, I turned to leave, but he forcefully grabbed my wrist. Natalie's in so much pain during her period. His face darkened. How can you just stand by and do nothing? I completely lost it. If she's sick, go see a doctor. She's not my partner. Why is it my problem? Brown sugar isn't some miracle cure that saves lives. I refused outright. Edward still wouldn't let go. With no other choice, I shouted, Luis! Luis! A figure shot over like lightning. Luis wrapped an arm around my waist and shoved Edward back so hard he staggered. His brows were dark with a ferocity I'd never seen before. Are you sick? Stay the hell away from my girlfriend. What kind of girlfriend is she to you? Edward looked him up and down, then suddenly laughed. Luna's only with you to get back at me. We grew up together, before you ever showed up. Every love letter she received was handed over to me. What makes you think she'd suddenly fall for you? The fingers around my waist instantly tightened. Even so, that has nothing to do with you. Luis met his gaze head on. At least the one she's with right now is me, not you. Chapter 11. Luis's friends cleared part of the court for us, so he could teach me how to play basketball. Although his expression looked normal, I could still sense a kind of low mood clinging to him. Looks like when I explained earlier that Edward was just being crazy and that he shouldn't listen to him, none of it had really sunk in. I sighed and called for a stop, pulling him along. I sat down with him. Luis, are you unhappy? I slid my fingers into his palm and lightly scratched it. I'm not just being jealous for no reason. I'm just a little insecure. Luis lowered his head, looking like a dejected puppy. You didn't even know me before, and you still agreed to my confession. That's already really great. No one else is as lucky as I am. Even if you only agreed casually, that's fine. I'm just afraid I won't do well enough. And one day you'll get tired of me and stop liking me, or maybe you never really liked me in the first place. I leaned in close and looked at him seriously. You want to be my only one, don't you? He nodded. But you already are. I smiled brightly. You're the only one whose letter made my heart flutter. The one who stood out among everyone else. When I went to meet you that day, I was actually still hesitating about whether to say yes, but after seeing you, I felt like agreeing wouldn't be a bad idea at all. And now I like you more and more. Isn't that mutual choosing? Light flickered back into Luis's eyes. I gave him instructions. Now, open your arms. Luis obediently did as told. I threw myself into his arms and gave him a big bear hug. When I got home, Mom told me something. Edward came by today, said he was here to take the brown sugar you gave him. My pupils shrank instantly. Nervous and angry, I blurted out. He's lying, I never agreed. Mom, you didn't actually give it to him, did you? No, Mom replied leisurely. Even though your grandma's family has been making brown sugar for generations and it's nothing rare, the jars she left you before she passed away are ones you treasure dearly. Without your explicit permission, how could I possibly be stupid enough to give them away? I made an excuse and sent him off. My heart finally settled back into place. But, she added, have you been secretly dating someone behind my back? My heart shot straight up to my throat. I've never been good at lying to Mom. Just as I was panicking, she pinched my cheek. Mom sighed. When you came back from Edward's place that day, your eyes were red like that, and you were flustered trying to hide your shoes. Do you think I'm blind? I guessed he must have upset you. Then later I noticed a different boy picking you up for school, and when you came home your backpack was always puffier than before, like a little hamster sneaking food. And every day, aside from doing practice problems, you were glued to your phone, chatting away happily with someone. You've got good taste. That kid's much better looking than Edward, and he's generous with you too. You've always been sensible, and your grades haven't suffered. Why would I break up a good thing? Dating a bit helps you lose that idealized filter over the opposite sex anyway. Just remember to protect yourself. She smiled. You don't need to worry about things being awkward between me and his mom. If Edward treats you badly, our families can just have less contact in the future. You should know this, Mom will always be on your side. Chapter 12. From that point on, I cut ties with Edward without a shred of guilt. He came by our house a few times. I stayed in my room on the phone with Luis and didn't go out. Mom handled him every time. If he lingered too long, she'd casually stuff a jar of supermarket-bought brown sugar into his hands and send him off. At school, Luis was always around. He kept a close eye on things. Edward could barely get a word in with me. Once he realized I was genuinely indifferent to him, he finally gave up. He stayed far away, taking his whole set of excuses with him. I heard that not long after, he staged a big confession and got together with Natalie, which had nothing to do with me anymore. The college entrance exam drew near. I listened in class during the day. Then after school Luis and I would find a place to grind practice papers and do homework. Sometimes at his place, sometimes at mine. Our grades were similar, and our weak subjects happened to complement each other perfectly. On weekends, we went to movies, wandered around shopping streets, tried new cafes, and ate pretty food to decompress. Luis always asked for my opinion and planned everything in advance. Being with him, I didn't have to think about saving money to repay someone, or how to buy gifts while keeping up with daily expenses. With him, money was the least important thing in the world. All I had to do was be happy, maybe act a little cute, hold his hand, and he'd be over the moon. Ivy cautiously asked how far we'd progressed. I told her honestly, we held hands, and occasionally hugged. When I said I wanted to take things slow, Luis actually listened. Ivy pouted, unconvinced, with faces like yours. You don't even kiss? What are you, professional ninjas? Well, not exactly. Luis was just too innocent. Even a simple hug got a big reaction out of him. With the exam so close, I couldn't exactly mess with his head. Soon, the college entrance exam ended. Results came out. We both scored higher than we'd estimated, almost the same score. Except I beat him by 1 point. No helping it. He was a bit love-brained. I was more serious about practice questions, so being 1 point ahead was normal. Either way, both of us made it into our target university. On the day Luis and I planned to celebrate, the doorbell rang. Thinking he'd come to pick me up, I hurried to the door in the new dress I'd just bought. The smile I lifted vanished the moment I saw who it was. Edward? Why are you here? Chapter 13. Luna, after the exam. I broke up with Natalie. Edward's eyes were rimmed red. Ever since you got together with someone else. I've felt awful. I thought it was just because I saw you as a little sister and didn't want you to be fooled. But that day, when I saw you smiling at him, being that close to him, my heart felt like it was being stabbed. Watching you fall into someone else's arms hurt more than killing me. He took out a glass jar. I've figured it out. The one I truly like is you. We grew up together. We have a foundation. Before, I was stupid and didn't understand myself. And I hurt you. The shoes I threw away, I've reordered the same pair online for you. They're already on the way. If you like handmade things, I can fold hearts and flowers for you too. These are 520 paper stars I folded for you. They represent my love. Luna, would you be willing to give me another chance? Before I could speak, a cold male voice exploded behind him. Harassing someone else's girlfriend over and over, have you no shame? Luis stood there holding flowers. His fist clenched tight. You're like a piece of gum stuck to a shoe. Do you have any morals? Aren't you disgusting? I honestly want to beat you to death right now. Both of them turned to look at me. In the silence, I spoke. I do like handmade flowers. Edward's eyes lit up. I took the huge bouquet of pink paper money flowers from Luis's arms, tilted my head at Edward with confusion. But only this kind. And what does that have to do with you? Edward, I've seen countless confession gifts since I was little, you know that. How could I ever get together with someone just because of some ordinary paper hearts? The glass jar fell to the ground and shattered. Edward's face went deathly pale. So you're serious about him? You're with him for his money? I'm not just anyone's, okay? I rolled my eyes. This is his sincerity. If I didn't like him, why would I accept his gifts? Luis impatiently shoved Edward aside. My girlfriend spending my money means she likes me. Does that need your commentary? How come she never spent yours? Stop trying to drive a wedge and clinging to my Luna. Get lost. Edward staggered away, utterly defeated. Once the third wheel was gone, I lifted my skirt and spun in front of Luis, proudly. Well, do I look good? MHM. Luis's eyes sparkled like a puppy's. Is this for our date? You're adorable to death. I lifted my chin. Can't help it. Your Luna is just that charming. Luis nodded enthusiastically again, feeling his burning gaze and basking in the affirmation. I thought for a moment, then decided to hand out tonight's reward early. I wrapped an arm around him, stood on tiptoe, and kissed him on the lips. Luis's eyes went hazy. Luna, what are you? Ah, you smell so good. I kissed him again. Drip. I froze, eyes widening. Luis, why do you have a nosebleed? Chapter 14. September arrived, and the new semester began. Luis and I reported to Universia together. He finally got his wish and began living the life of a devoted servant, and enjoyed it immensely. At the parcel pickup station, he video called me, looking very serious. 1 kiss per package. No bargaining. I wailed. But I've got more than 10 packages. How long am I supposed to be kissing for? Luis was no longer the shy, innocent boy he once was. Now he looked cool and aloof, but he'd become dangerously good at kissing. He absolutely refused to budge. Even acting cute didn't work. So I dug in my heels. I refuse to give in. I will uphold fine moral virtues. Wealth cannot corrupt me. Poverty cannot sway me. Force cannot bend me. Luis cut in coldly with temptation. If you agree, I'll also bring you the new milk tea from Cafeteria 1, the blueberry cheese bread from Cafeteria 2, and the fruit bowl from Cafeteria 3. 3 seconds of standoff. I was defeated. Fine, I surrender. After receiving the packages Luis had helped me open, sort, and throw away all the useless packaging for, I happily hugged them upstairs. Then I went back down to kiss him, and eat together, in the small grove downstairs. He pinned me and kissed me 3 times in a row first. My lips were a little swollen. I punched his chest in protest. Are you a dog or something? Why do you always bite my lips? You never bite properly. Luis smoothly handed me some water. Sorry. Luis couldn't hold back. Luis was wrong, grumbling. I dragged him off to eat. In the cafeteria, I was ladling soup while talking to Mom on the phone. She chatted about everyday things, then remembered something and told me, "Oh right. Earlier Edward asked me what school and major you were applying for. Whether you still wanted University C like before." I vaguely said probably. I didn't expect him to actually apply there. He stubbornly chose the same major as you, but didn't get in. His placement slipped, and he ended up at a much worse school. And that ex-girlfriend he broke up with after the exam. She even went to their house to make a scene. Edward kicked her out. I heard her exam score was terrible, so she went to a vocational college. Less than half a year later, she suddenly got pregnant and dropped out. Mom sighed. "You really have good judgment, finding little Luis. Both of you are doing well. You've been together quite a while now. If you ever have conflicts, make sure to talk them through properly. You're both good kids. Even if you don't make it to the end someday, you should be rational, break up peacefully, and stay friends. Don't end up like me and your dad, fighting to that extent." Luis's chopsticks paused, feeling guilty. I turned the volume down a bit. He's more love-brained than I am. He really doesn't like hearing things like that. On the walk back to the dorm, when Luis kissed me, he wasn't as aggressive as usual. Instead, he was gentler, more careful. Under the night sky, his voice was serious. "Luna, if I ever do something wrong, you have to tell me. I'll change. I'll restrain myself in the future, won't kiss you so excessively anymore. I want to walk forward with you properly. Really, truly." I laughed and wrapped my arms around him. "If I didn't like it, I would have pushed you away long ago." Honestly, I kind of enjoy it." Luis stared at me blankly. The smile at the corner of his mouth slowly spread, and he gently pinched my cheek. Summoning my courage, I boldly said, "Luis, let's live together." Time froze for a few seconds. The next moment, overwhelming kisses poured down in the night. Thump, thump, two hearts beat together, intertwined.